What if I told you that losing a client was the best thing that happened to my business? Not because she was difficult, not because I didn't like the work, but because her decision not to renew forced me to do something I'd never done before. Absolutely nothing. Welcome to the Manifest and Chill podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Ftacek, where we dive in each week to chat about how high-achieving women can release the need to be perfect and find peace, drop the hustle without giving up their ambitions, and manifest the life they truly desire. I'm a certified manifestation and visualization coach with a rich and exhausting background as a serial entrepreneur and tech founder who is obsessed with teaching women how to manifest the life they desire and chill the fuck out in the process. Let's dive in. Hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Manifest and Chill podcast. I'm Tracy, and today I'm sharing a story that goes against every business guru's advice you've ever heard. The day my client decided not to continue for another 6 months of one-to-one coaching, my entire nervous system set me into panic. I immediately wanted to start marketing, to lower my prices, to hustle harder than I ever had to replace that income. Instead, I did the most radical thing I could think of. I paused completely. And that decision, it didn't just save my business, it evolved into something I never could have imagined. If you're a service provider who's been running on the hamster wheel of constant client delivery, always in reactive mode, always scrambling to fill the next spot, this story's for you. So let me paint you a picture of where I was just recently. I had been working with this incredible client for 6 months. Deep transformational work, the kind that lights me up as a coach. We were coming to the end of our container, and I was already mentally planning out how we'd continue. You know that feeling, right? When you would just assume the client will renew because the work is going well. The transformation is happening, and everything is feeling aligned. So when she said, Tracy, I've decided not to continue for another 6 months. I need to reintegrate what we've done. My stomach dropped, not because I needed her specifically, but because my nervous system immediately went into survival mode. After 30 years as a serial entrepreneur, that is a trigger. I've done a lot of work. I share that work with others, but it hit. Old Tracy's brain started spinning. Okay, I need to replace this income. I need to post more on social media. Maybe I should create a flash sale. Maybe I should reach out to my warm leads. Maybe I should lower my prices to make it easier for people to say yes. And then I caught myself. This was the exact pattern that had kept me exhausted for years. Client leaves, immediately go into desperation marketing mode, attract clients from that desperate energy, deliver for depletion, rinse and repeat. I'd been on this hamster wheel for so long, I had forgot there was another way. Here's what I've learned about the service provider trap. We can get so addicted to being needed that we never create space for our business to actually evolve. Think about it. When you're always in delivery mode, always on calls, always supporting clients, always managing the next thing, when do you have space for the big picture thinking? When do you have space to ask, what does my business actually want to become? For years, I'd been so focused on keeping my client roster full that I never questioned whether the way I was delivering was actually sustainable, whether pricing reflects the true value, whether the offers were the offers that I actually wanted to be known for. Yes, successful for sure, but when you operate in this mode, you become successful at a version of a business that you outgrow without ever realizing it. The constant client delivery keeps us small because when you're always giving, always supporting, always in service to someone else's transformation, you don't have the energetic bandwidth to vision your own. So when she decided not to renew, instead of immediately trying to replace her, I went and made a decision that went against every business coach's advice I'd ever received and probably you've ever received, correct? The nervous system was screaming at me. I kept opening Instagram to post something, anything, draft after draft of sales emails that needed to be written and deleted. My finger hovering on the post button, desperately wanting to do something that felt productive. But I kept choosing the pause. I kept choosing to trust that maybe, just maybe, this space was exactly what the business needed. Because here's what we realized. Every time I make a business decision from panic, every time you make a choice from needing to replace something immediately, later on, you regret that decision. You'll always regret it. The clients to take on because you need to fill a spot, not because they're aligned. The offers because they'd sell, not because you're excited to delivering them. The content posted because you feel like you have to, not because it has something meaningful to share. What if this pause could break that cycle? So for me, the first week was the hardest. My brain kept telling me I was being irresponsible, that I was going to lose momentum, that people would forget about me. But by week 2, something started to shift. Go back, day 3. I'm sitting with my morning protein shake for the first time in months. I wasn't mentally rehearsing client calls or planning my next post, just quiet. And in that space, things start to emerge that had been waiting in the wings. The podcast idea that I'd been meaning to start for months suddenly had the mental bandwidth to actually launch it. Not from a place of, I should have a podcast, but from the genuine excitement about the conversations I wanted to have right here and now with you. Today, the visionary sessions I'd been putting off because I was too busy, I finally had them. And what came through completely surprised me. I realized that the way I'd been structuring my one-to-one work, while effective, wasn't the highest expression of what I actually wanted to offer. I'd been playing small, keeping my prices accessible, working harder instead of working at my true level. In those visionary sessions, I saw a completely different version of my business, higher level offers, more aligned pricing, work that actually excited me instead of just sustaining me. But here's the most important part. The energy completely shifted. Instead of operating from I need to find clients, we shift into the operation of I'm creating something incredible and the right people will be drawn to it. That shift right there, that's everything. 3 weeks into my strategic pause, something magical happened. A woman reached out to me, someone I'd never spoken to about my one-to-one services. She'd been following me on Instagram for months. She said, but something about my recent energy had caught her attention. And when I say energy, she'd been absorbing the last few episodes of my podcast. She'd been watching my stories on social media. She subscribed to my email list for marketing. And her message wasn't, do you have availability? Her message to me was, I need to work with you. That's the energy that I coach my clients through. That's the energy I want you to be able to have. That's what happens when you stop chasing and start being. Not spending hours convincing people, not sending follow-up emails, not creating urgency with limited time offers. We got on a call, and within 20 minutes, it was clear we were meant to work together. The alignment was undeniable. The transformation she was seeking was exactly what I was excited to facilitate. Here's the kicker. She signed on at a rate that is $4,800 higher than what I had been charging that previous client that canceled. Not because I was more desperate and needed to change more, but because I was operating from a completely different energy. I wasn't trying to convince her to work with me. I wasn't coming from a place of needing to fill a spot. I was coming from a place of, this is the work we do. This is the transformation that's possible. If that resonates with you, beautiful. If not, that's beautiful too. That energy, it's magnetic. But the new client wasn't just the beginning. The podcast I launched during the pause, it's opened doors I never could have imagined. I've been invited to speak on other people's podcasts. Opportunities are coming through, collaboration requests, people reaching out who've been listening and are ready for deeper work. The evolved offers I visioned, those are going to be attracting a completely different caliber of client. People who are ready for transformation, who value the work, who see the investment as exactly that, an investment in their evolution. So I'm not living just on Instagram anymore. I'm looking at other platforms and other ways to connect. Doors are opening, not just mentally, but physically. So let me share with you the framework that emerged from this experience. It's a framework that I call the Client Work Pause Method. And it's something that I'm going to be teaching at my retreat in Tulum this November. So phase 1, the panic override. When a client doesn't renew, when your roster isn't full, when the income dips, every entrepreneur's nervous system screams, replace them now. And I want you to imagine those words hovering in the air in all capital letters with an exclamation point at the end. But here's what I want you to consider. What if that panic is actually blocking your next level client coming from you? Desperate energy repels the clients you actually want to work with. Think about it. When you can feel someone's desperation, how does that land with you? It doesn't feel good, right? Your ideal clients can feel that energy too. They can sense when you're marketing from need versus when you're sharing from overflow. So phase 1 is learning to override that panic response and ask instead. I want you to ask yourself, what if this space is exactly what my business needs right now? Phase 2 is the energetic recalibration. This is where the real work happens. Instead of immediately jumping into marketing mode, you use that space to recalibrate your entire energetic relationship with your business. During my pause, I asked myself questions to increase the bandwidth. What would I create if I knew it couldn't fail? What's the highest expression of the work I'm meant to do? How would I structure my business if I wasn't designing it from scratch today? And what would I charge if I truly valued the transformation I facilitate? These aren't questions you can answer while you're on constant delivery mode. There's just no space. And space is required in order to answer these questions. It's required stepping back from the day-to-day to see the bigger picture. And phase 3, that's the visionary emergence. Week 3 of my pause was when the magic really started happening. All those ideas I'd been meaning to explore finally had room to breathe. The podcast wasn't just a good idea anymore. It became a clear vision with specific episodes, specific conversations I wanted to have, specific transformations I wanted to facilitate. I had reasons. My offers evolved from what I think will sell to what I'm generally excited to deliver. My pricing shifted from what I think people can afford to what this transformation is actually worth. And people are telling me that. They're saying this work that they're receiving, that they're having, is worth so much more. This isn't about unrealistic or pricing people out. This isn't about tripling what you charge just for the sake of saying, I charge a lot. Because that's all ego-driven. And we know that that's not where this space sits. This is about operating from your true value instead of your fears. Phase 4, the magnetic attraction. Here's what nobody tells you about stepping back from desperate client acquisition. When you stop chasing, you become magnetic. Think back to dating. When you're operating from, I have something incredible to offer, instead of, I need someone to say yes, everything changes. The client who found me during my pause, she wasn't responding to my marketing because I wasn't marketing. She was responding to my energy, to the confidence that comes from knowing your worth, to the alignment that happens when you're creating from inspiration instead of desperation. That's the energy that attracts your ideal clients, not the hustle, not the constant posting, not the discounts and flash sales. The energy of someone who knows their value and isn't willing to compromise it. What if I had panicked and immediately started marketing? Well, I can tell you, I would have attracted someone from that desperate energy, probably at a lower rate, probably not aligned, and I would have spent hours convincing them instead of minutes connecting with them. The universe was literally waiting for me to get out of my own way. This is the power of the strategic pause. It allows what's meant for you to actually find you instead of you chasing what you think you need. Here's what this experience taught me about the service provider trap we all fall into. We think our job is to always be available, always be delivering, always be on for our clients. But what if our real job is to be so aligned with our vision that we become magnetic to the people who are meant to work with us? When you're constantly in delivery mode, you're operating from your current level, but your business wants to evolve, your offers want to expand, your impact wants to grow. That evolution doesn't happen in the margins of your busy schedule. It happens when you create sacred space for it to emerge. The client pause work isn't about being lazy or uncommitted. It's about being strategic. It's about recognizing that sometimes the most productive thing you can do is step back and let your business show you what it wants to become. This is exactly why I'm taking a group of visionary women to Tulum this November for our Manifest and Breathe retreat. Sometimes you need to completely step away from client delivery, from the day-to-day operations, from everything that keeps you in your current version of success, to see what wants to emerge next. In Tulum, which the show notes have the link to check out the information on that, this is where we're going to be creating the ultimate client work pause. No emails, no client calls, no managing your business from your phone. Just pure space for your vision to evolve, for your offers to upgrade, for your energy to recalibrate to the next level of your success. This is the only time I'm doing this retreat in 2025. And it's nothing like our previous retreat in March. This is specifically designed for the strategic pause, for the business evolution that can only happen when you completely step away. Because here's what I want you to know for sure. The version of your business that got you here isn't the version that will take you where you're going. So if you're listening to this and you're in that hamster wheel of constant client delivery, always reacting, always scrambling to fill the next spot, I want you to consider this. What if the pause you're avoiding is exactly what your business needs to evolve? What if stepping back from desperate client acquisition is what makes you magnetic to your ideal clients? What if the space you create is not by constantly delivering, is what allows you your next level vision to emerge? I'm not saying quit serving your clients or abandon your business. That'd be foolish. I'm saying get intentional about creating space for evolution instead of just sustaining what already exists. Your business wants to grow. Your impact wants to expand. Your offers want to evolve. But that can't happen if you never create space for it. Reach out to me if this episode resonated with you. I'd love to hear about it. Share with that service provider friend who's been running on the hamster wheel. Please feel free to leave a review telling me about your own relationship with the client work pause. Reach out to me in the DMs on Instagram. It's where I live. Also LinkedIn. I would love to hear if you've tried something like this before and if it's worked, or if you've never tried anything like this before. Let's have a conversation. And if you're ready to experience this kind of strategic pause in the most supportive environment possible, surrounded by other visionary women who are ready to evolve in their life and businesses, join us in Tulum this November. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is trust that your business is strong enough to evolve and that you're worthy of creating space for evolution to happen. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being willing to consider that maybe, just maybe, the pause you're avoiding is exactly what your success is waiting for. I'll see you next week, and remember, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is absolutely nothing.